In this video, I'm going to walk you through taking apart a drum brake. This particular setup is from a Ford Focus, but many other drum brakes are very similar. First thing we're going to do is take off the drum and shimmy it side to side. They are very heavy, so don't drop them once it comes off. And we're going to set this in a safe place so you don't drop it on your toes. Next thing we're going to do is take off our upper return spring, this one here. This is what pulls the shoes back together after the wheel cylinder pushes them apart. Easiest way to take this off is to take needle nose vice grips, close them all the way, and kind of adjust it so that they have a kind of snap together like that, because we need to grab onto the spring and it's real tiny. We're going to grab this spring by the left side right here. Lock onto it, and then what we're going to do is use our palm. We're going to put our palm on the brake shoe. We're going to use our fingers to squeeze it, kind of pull it over, and then with this hand we're going to pull back and kind of unhook it. So squeeze it and then unhook it. Squeeze and unhook, and it looks like that. Now the left side will come off, and that's how we hooked it together. Set that in a safe place in the basket. Now what we're ready to do is work on taking our right side hold down off. That has a little pin like this with the flat part on the backing plate. What we're going to do is put our finger on it like this, just so it doesn't keep pushing forward and backward. We're going to put pressure on it so we can push down, unhook our hold down here. Tool for that is this one. It's got a little window on it so you can peek through there to see if things are lined up or not. But again, I'm going to put my finger on the back of it, hold it in place, put this on there, push, turn 90 degrees. Hold down, spring comes off, and the pin comes out. Put those in this basket. Now what I'm able to do is take this, and it just kind of unsnaps. Don't pinch your fingers, but you can slide it down and now unhook it. You don't need any tools for the bottom one. That'll let me unhook the left side. And now I can swing this up and unhook the right side. Set that in the basket. We have our self-adjuster spring here. Going to take that off, unhook it in the basket. This one, you see a bend in it. It does go in a certain way. The one for the other side is bent the other way. We'll unhook that. And now we'll set our shoe down in the basket. We're going to swing to the right side and do the same thing. I'm going to put my finger on the back, on the head of that pin, and I'm going to put my hold down tool here, push, turn 90 degrees so these lines line up. And now the left side is off. Put that in the basket. Hold down pin comes out. Self adjuster is going to want to fall off, so we're going to catch that. Put that in our basket. And now my left shoe is off. Push back on the spring a little bit, pivot it, and now I can unhook it. That's for my parking brake cable. And now my left side shoe is off. At this point, we're ready to clean and inspect. We would clean up these 6 points, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, where my brake shoes rest. We'd also make sure that this wheel cylinder is not leaking, no torn boots. And then after cleaning it, we would apply grease to it all. My students are going to skip the grease step just to keep this cleaner for the next group. Now to start our reassembly process, we're going to take tape and we're going to tape our shoes like this so that our nice new shoes stay clean with our hands that are bound to get dirty and greasy. And that eliminates the need for a lot of brake cleaner or possibly contaminating the shoes. Going to do the same thing with the left side. Again, just use a little masking tape on the friction material. And the brake job turns out much better. So I'm ready to start putting this back together. I'm going to take my left shoe. I need to reconnect my parking brake cable. Push back on the spring just a little bit, expose the cable, and then it'll hook in place. Make sure the spring goes up above these little mounts. This is where having a partner will help to kind of hold things in place. I'm going to take my hold down pin, put it through the backing plate like that. I'm gonna hold it in place with my finger, line this up with the correct slot. I'm gonna take my hold down spring. I like to line these up vertically. Take the hold down spring tool, put that on there. Line them up, turn 90 degrees. Now it's hooked in place. Let's get that lined up so it holds it squarely. At this point, I'm ready to start working on the right side. Before I put the right side on, what I like to do is grab my lower spring. We're going to hook it into the left side. And the coil goes on the left side on this one. And then I can hook it into my shoe. It's on a curve on an odd angle. And now what I can do is just snap this into place. Make sure the spring goes above it. No tools needed for that lower one on this particular case. And now it's actually going to help hold this in place for me. Next item that I'm going to put into place is my self-adjuster. This should normally get cleaned. Make sure it threads on and off. Make sure the star wheel is adjusted all the way in. And then line up that little notch with this little piece. This goes on the back side, and this is a little tricky to kind of thread in here. It likes to keep falling off, but we just want to get it set into place for right now. So I've got that in there. Now what I can do is put my hold down spring on to hold this in place. Again, we're going to grab our pin, put it through the backing plate. Going to grab hold down spring. Again, I like to make those vertical, make this one vertical. Grab our hold down spring tool. Push down, rotate 90 degrees, and now it's in place. Do make sure that rotates the right way. Sometimes they're not all the way locked in place and they like to fly off, so safety glasses is key. Now I'm ready to actually get this fully situated. Get everything lined up, which is tricky, especially if you have bigger fingers. Now my left side's lined up, right side's lined up. I'm going to push this all together to hold it in place. And this is where having a partner to hold this is very helpful. And at this point, we're ready to get our parking brake, our self-adjuster return spring put in place. The bend goes towards that right side. Got that hooked in. Gonna hook it in here. There it goes. We need to get this hole lined up with that post. There it goes. And then this has to go into that little slot back there. So it is a lot of things to get into place. In the midst of getting our self-adjusting spring on, our self-adjuster fell out. Not a big deal, we're going to get that put back in place. So again, everything is lined up here. It is screwed all the way in. Both sides have little notches on them for my self-adjuster lever here. Slide that into place. That's lined up correctly. And now I'm going to get my left side into place. And a partner would be helpful to try and push this all together. There we go. And now it's all lined up. It is a lot to try and get lined up into place, but having some partners help hold things using the screwdrivers to lift as needed, and I'm gently holding this all together so that I can put my last spring in place. To put the last spring in place, we're going to go back to our vice grips and our return spring here. The long side is going to go on the left. We're going to take these, this time we're actually going to put them on the left side of the coil. I'm going to grab that, lock on just the tip like so. We're going to hook the left side in place. And now, again, I'm going to put my palm on the shoes and use my fingers as leverage and get that hooked in. It shifted just a little on me, so I'm going to release, grab it again. And try again. Slide that up. There it goes. So I used my fingers, I squeezed together, kind of pull it over, and then use this left hand to kind of push in to get it all hooked into place. It is really tough to get this one. Now I can undo my vice grips and everything is together. Now, we're going to remove our tape. Now that our drum is fully assembled, our shoes stayed nice and clean, and we are ready to adjust our drum to our shoes. This little lever, I'm going to push up into place. There we go. And what happens is this is adjusted all the way in. Let's fix that seal, make that right. It's adjusted all the way in. When I put my drum on, it is too big. And there's lots of movement. If I were to put this on the car, the brake pedal would go all the way to the floor because it's got to push those shoes out so far. So we're going to adjust it. The way we adjust it is with this tool. Put this inside of the drum, slide it all the way to the widest part of the drum, tighten it down. And now what we're going to do is transfer this dimension from the inside of our drum, and it directly translates this one where my shoes are, so now I can adjust my self-adjuster to get rid of that extra. Now I can adjust that to get rid of my extra slop here. We're going to take a brake spoon, go in here, and we're going to spin this star wheel until this gap is pretty much gone. It might take a little while. Now most of my excess is gone. Gonna make sure these are nice and centered. And now I'm ready to try test fitting my drum. That goes on. It should have just a little bit of resistance as I turn it, which it does. That means it's properly adjusted. If it just freely spun, then we would want to adjust that star wheel adjuster some more and bring these shoes further out. We're going to take our lug nut, we're going to put that back on so that the drum doesn't fall off, and now this is all set for our next group. All right, thank you for watching. Let me know if you have any questions.